ladies and gentlemen, Vagran Gaming here, and went back to the archives a little bit for a Virulence sniper match that I recorded a while ago with some friends. We've got some really good players in this team. We've got War Drums, he's a fantastic shank tank, although I think his setup is mostly like DPS gear, but in tank spec. We've got Malison, one of my favorite healers. I think that's her on Miyasuna. And I don't want to say who he is, but it'll probably be obvious if you look at the damage at the end. My buddy, Lynx is so bad is in here tearing it up. Now this match was interesting because we both had a lot of healers. I think we each had 3. And it was a bit of a standoff at the beginning here in mid because they had 2 healers and we didn't really have any like straightforward DPS characters. And by that I mean I'm a dot class. So when you have a dot class facing off against 2 healers, it's usually very slow, very painful, and it doesn't end well. So what I wound up doing is, and the execution might not have been perfect, but in the end you'll see whether for yourself whether or not it was effective. I'd focus fire off of War Drums, and then if it looked like we weren't making the proper amount of headway, because we were in voice together, I would switch over to the healer that was free casting, kind of like what you're going to see in a second. And then eventually I would focus fire right off of War Drums again. It's slow going again because he is in tank spec, so he doesn't have a lot of really hard-hitting attacks, and neither do I because of all the dots. But we do what we can. In between that, we've got Malison keeping us healed up because they do have a Juggernaut of their own, and I don't know if that Juggernaut was set up with like DPS gear. He didn't really spend too much. He didn't spend too much time swinging away at me, and because of that, I didn't really pay that much attention to how much damage he may have been doing. So it's a bit of a cat and mouse game here for several minutes. War Drums is doing what he can to chase that guy down. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that because I'm going to butcher it. And I'm trying to help him from a distance. And I probably could have done a little bit better of a job peeling away, because every now and then War Drums would double back because he does have a guard on Miyasuna. And if it looked like she was getting in trouble, he would stop chasing the healer and jump back to keep her covered. And that kind of left me to my own devices as far as trying to keep pressure on either of these healers. So, it wasn't perfect, but I think between the 3 of us, we did okay. So we're making a little bit of headway on this guy. We've got him down to 62%. We're pushing at him, but now all those heals start coming in. Oh, we get some progress again. Alright, this is exciting. We get him down to about half health. Here we go. Can we get it? Yahtzee! That was exciting. Looks like one of my dots got him in the end. A corrosive grenade for about 1079. So that's fun. So now it's only 1 healer and 1 Juggernaut. But again, I'm a dot class, but this Juggernaut has that healer guarded. So that means it's going to be even harder. Although, one of the nice things about playing a dot class is if you have a dot spread, if the tank and the healer you're chasing around get close to each other, that's when you want to try to get your dot spread on, because the damage will just start rolling out to both of them at the same time. No, I think I tried to flashbang. Yeah, I think I did. I tried to flashbang that second healer that ran up, but right after my flashbang hit, War Drums hit force push and woke them up and left them white barred. So that was probably poor communication on my part. I probably should have called out in voice like, hey, I'm about to throw a flashbang, leave him alone. But it was probably one of those things where I'm like, ooh, an opening, and I threw the flashbang and then regretted it immediately. These things happen. And again, because of we don't have that much straightforward DPS, he was able to run back before we could really make any progress on taking anybody else out. But we're going to keep swinging away and keep chipping away at this and seeing what we can do. So, one of the things that gave us openings as far as taking out one of the healers, and I didn't notice this right away. I think it was like the second or third time I was rewatching this footage. The tank didn't seem to swap his guard very often, if at all. And so because of that, you just pick the healer that isn't guarded, and swung away at them. And ooh, we might have him. He's trying to get some of those bursts in. I hit the knockback to slow him down from his healing. And Yahtzee! So that was fun. Alright, so we got a couple of shots off there. I tried to use my roll to spread a little bit extra damage. It wasn't perfectly executed, but I think it got a little bit of damage in on the Juggernaut. And so now we've got a second sorcerer, but this time it looks like they're a lightning sword. So it's not as much of an issue as what we were running into before with the dual healers running in. And it looks like Sangra was something I forgot to mention before. Sangra's coming in to help. Sangra is one. I'm a bit of a fan of hers, because whenever I look at the screenshots she posts for her war zones, she consistently will put up like, I'm trying to remember if it's 100,000 or a million. But I've seen her do multiple war zones where she's had a crazy amount of objective points. So it's one of the reasons why I refer to Sangra as being like the objective PvP queen of the server, because I haven't seen anyone else consistently put up objective numbers like her. Like, when the situation calls for it, she can pump out some damage, and I've seen her do it multiple times. But her playstyle is the key to victory is the objectives. So she'll see where there's a need to cover an objective, whether it's an off node, whether it's a door and a void star. She'll park on it, and you'll need the jaws of life. Like, you'll pull her away from that objective with her cold, dead hands. You know, which is one of the things I really like about her playstyle, because she'll focus overall victory as opposed to just, like, you know, farming damage numbers, and as a result she'll do really well with her objectives. So I'm always perfectly happy to see her in the ops frame when we know that we're teamed up, and when we're up against each other I'm like, alright, now I get to see if I can keep up with her damage wise. Which I ran head to head against her in a couple of hotball matches, and those were some tough fights. So yeah, we've got a good team. So this part I think is kind of funny. The Sork makes a break for it. I chase him. He puts his phase walk down like right in front of me in a second. There it is. Well done. And then he runs off. And he drops. And I'm like, I'm not falling for that. So I head back to mid. It was funny too, because shortly after I recorded this match, now I gotta look it up. It was either Lynx or it was Mamba Swtor. One of them was like, put a highlight reel of them like faking people out with their sorcerer. Like, they put a phase walk, drop down, someone would chase them, and then they just phase walk back up and like laugh at them and go back to the middle node. But yeah, I wasn't going for that. At least not this time. Because I've seen it, like a lot of players, they get really bad tunnel vision as far as chasing people. And there's been so many times where like I've gotten down to like half health, and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to run away from the objective, and I'm pretty sure they're going to chase me. And they have. And I'm always like chuckling about it every time. Like, because they just leave their team wide open to take a big L when they do that. And I've probably made that mistake a few times, especially earlier on when I was learning how to PvP. But now, if I see someone taking off, I'm like, you know, if I have an opening to take them out, great. And if not, I just let it go. Because in a manner of speaking, driving someone away from an objective is a victory in and of itself. Especially if you're trying to lean in on capping it. Like, say it's a Novar Coast. I'd rather stop, double back and cap the node, than just flat out chase after somebody and risk losing it. But, you know, there's a million different ways, and there's pros and cons to just about everything you do. Because PvP is ultimately about making countless split-second decisions over and over, and sometimes you can recover from a bad decision, sometimes you can't. But if you're on point with your team, if you make a mistake here and there, you're probably going to be okay. So I'm usually less comfortable getting in position when I'm on the either of the west or the east nodes in a Civil War. When I'm in the center node, I've got all kinds of places to kite and hide. Here I feel like I'm a bit out in the open. Now, I was crouched behind that raised section of the node, and if you've played a gunslinger or a sniper in PvE, you've probably noticed that when you duck behind like solid cover, you'll see those green shields appear above your enemies' heads, at least if they're faced on the opposite side of that cover, and that means you're getting a little bit of a defensive bonus against them. I'm pretty sure it also works in PvP, Because there's been times where I've been shooting at someone that had cover in a hut ball, like a classic hut ball, where they're behind like those sandbags up on the raised platforms, and I've seen a bunch of my attacks missed. So even though the positioning isn't the greatest as far as getting knocked off the node, sometimes I will still crouch behind it, hoping to get that extra cover bonus. And in between that, I'm also sort of out of cover or out of ideal positioning because I'm trying to keep an eye on the node. I've got a couple of people taking hot shots at me, so I'll use my defenses as I can to, like, you know, mitigate the damage they're throwing at me. But the big thing is I don't want to lose this node. Just because it's bad form. I popped my scrambling shield there just so that I have the heals coming in because Ameli? I apologize, I can't pronounce any of these names. They were healing me, and you'll definitely see their name popping up in green over my head, but there were a couple of times when they weren't, most likely because my health was in a decent spot and somebody else needed healing more than I did. Either way, wait, hang on, I might be able to get this guy. Nice. Nice 15k crit. Okay, anyway, like I was saying, I took the scrambling field up just in case. We had this node pretty much under control, but I figured it'll help me so that I can just ignore the damage coming at me. Not that I was in any real danger, because I'm going to try this one more time. Ameli was healing me. Alright, so I'm rushing back into mid because I saw a call, and we were kind of outnumbered here, although fortunately Sangra just ran up. I didn't do that great of a job repositioning myself, but I did that because I was mostly paying attention to the node. Then I got stun locked and they just had a ton of burst coming at me. And as you saw, I wasted my scrambling feat. So I took the L on that one. Okay, so we're back in action. And one thing that was also that I did kind of like when I was looking back at the footage, when I got taken out, I was kind of like shooting side by side with Sangra, and I just kind of liked the visual. Anyway, things are going pretty well. Despite us both teams having a decent amount of healing, we were able to pull ahead, and we've got a 3-cap going, which is nice. So it looks like we were able to outmaneuver them, which is what happens sometimes, where either one side or both sides have a lot of healing on them. It comes down to outmaneuvering them as far as the objectives go, because a lot of your damage just doesn't really go anywhere. Although we got a couple of kills when I was working with war drones, because we were fairly spot on with our teamwork. So now I'm trying to focus fire off of Sangra, and wisely they kited around the corner. Smart move. A lot of the times if I notice Sangra's shooting at me, I'll try to get behind something solid to slow her down before she blows my face off. But right now I'm feeling pretty good because I think they need they need 3 to win at this point. We've got this pretty much locked down, so now we're just kind of having fun with it. Sangra's keeping an eye on one of them while I'm shooting at the other. Emil's keeping us topped off with the healing, and yeah, I mean, like it looks like that other Sork, one of these Sorks is a healer, one's a lightning DPS, and it's 3-on-2. So like we pretty much got this. There's another sneaky one shooting me from the flank. I lost track of that one. And he's healing himself, and I'm worried he's going to try to cap. So I'm going to roll back just to make sure. Get the stun, hunker down, and a dirty, stinking operative stabs me in the back. Man, do I hate operatives. But that's a story for another time. Or perhaps, if you watch any of my older videos, you'll hear me ranting about operatives off and on. Either way, it was a fun match. I enjoyed it. It was a bit of a standoff at first, but our teamwork was pretty good, and we, again, had a really good team. And check out how much damage Dolor did. That guy was not playing around. Yeah, one of the links is... I hope that wasn't... I hope I didn't mess anyone up by giving his name out. Sorry, Lynx, if that was supposed to be a secret, I apologize. But yeah, he was gutting people left and right. The guy's a killing machine. So as always, thanks for watching. Feel free to rate, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I will catch you all next time.